Well, almost we can say that our work is finished, and now the event that happened is we must go present those things we made. One of the very important points is that when you're generally making game assets, now if you went on a specific model processed material, well, your presentation is on that model with material. But if the assets you made are assets like, for example, these same tileable materials that we made today, you must come and present these materials themselves, and these assets you made separately. The main point that exists, we can use different presentations on a sphere, on a plane, or in an environment. Today, I want to teach you the simplest possible mode in Unreal Engine itself, so we get familiar a little with Unreal's rendering system too. Renders you see in the picture now were taken in Marmoset Toolbag. But well, since we didn't want software multiplicity to be too much in the camp, we want to see how we can take a suitable render in Game Engine itself and in Unreal Engine, for now, whether our own portfolio or for products we make. Well, so the work we want to do now is take render on sphere. We made two of these materials together. I provide these other two in Smart Material format at your disposal. You can very easily apply Smart Material on that same plane that, for example, we baked and made those two other materials and get output, and in projects later use same Smart Materials. Now, why do I give this to you as Smart Material? Because it has a very simple structure, and so we don't make the tutorial time very long, I leave this review part to yourself. Well, what must we do to start? We must activate a few options in Unreal Engine itself. First, we open our project. Now, you can hit this move on the same project you're working on, actually. You can also open a totally new project and continue this process there. I prefer it to be in the same project, so I don't want to move my material and texture constantly. Well, I come here in Settings section, in Plugins section. We must activate two plugins. The first plugin we want to activate is HDRI Backdrop. You check this box. When you check this box, a message comes for you that you must restart so this plugin activates for you, which, well, don't restart for now until activate the second one. Then we click the same restart option again and engine restarts, and plugins are usable for us. Second plugin is Movie Render Queue, that you check its box, restart the engine with this same message, and when actually engine return to normal state and you could use, you must hit another move here too. I give you a zip file named Presentation. We unzip this presentation file and the folder that has these four contents inside it, meaning model and a blocky photo material and MRQ, this folder that has these four, not those four. This folder that its name is Presentation, you come and copy this, Control-C. Okay, in Unreal Engine, the project you want to work, you press Control-Space, and here right-click on your content and click Show in Explorer option. Well, when you click Show in Explorer option, a page opens for you, a window opens actually, and here you paste that presentation folder. Now, in Content folder in the window that opened, there must be a folder named Presentation. When you open it, these four contents must exist inside it. Okay, we go into Presentation folder, see what we have. We have an HDRI image that we want to use in lighting. We have a series of render settings. We have a level so we can actually place our spheres, put our lighting there and do our works, and a folder where basic models that we use for Material Showcase exist. Okay, let's go open Material here. Nothing is in this map. Step by step you must do things I tell you here until now we reach that desired format. First work we do, we come in Models section and add this back to the scene. We set its location on 0002 and for start set its scale on 10. Well, now my back has come, but I have no light in the scene and I don't see anything. First work I do, I put this back in a folder named Mesh and close it. I come here in Create menu and here add HDRI Backdrop, like this. Well, when we added HDRI Backdrop, well, you see space has become bright like this, and we can take from Z-axis and bring this lower. When we bring it down, it falls under this back that we defined here for it. Okay, Well, now what happens here, HDRI backdrop is selected, and I come here in presentation, select this asset of mine, which becomes the HDRI I want to give to HDRI backdrop. Return here again, select HDRI backdrop, and click this option. Now the HDRI image I defined has come here. It's not important at all actually where this image is, what shape it is. We only need the light it added for us. Well, I return in model. I want to use sphere. You can, for example, use cylinder too, makes no difference. I put sphere here, put its location on 0, 0, 0, bring it a little higher like this. Now we want to render this. How should we render? Our main work is to put camera and set our camera. First work I do, I give sphere to mesh folder and put my HDRI backdrop too in a folder named light. Well, let's go to camera placement. For camera placement too, you can come here, go to camera, search here in cinematic section, Cine Camera Actor. You can also stand in an angle, say, well, this angle is the angle I want to take my render. For creating camera, we can come here, click on these three lines, select Create Camera here, and Cine Camera Actor option. Well, when it makes the camera for us, viewport doesn't convert to camera. Actually, camera is made, selected, and you can see its preview here. Now, how can we really go into the camera and move the camera and actually consider location change for it? We click on this perspective and select Placed Camera, Camera Actor we want. Now, when you enter the camera, it doesn't show you that preview anymore because your viewport itself has converted to camera actually. Here are a few cases. 1. If you activate this option, you see exactly the camera proportions, meaning that safe frame of yours turns on, and what you see in viewport becomes your render output, or at least the output camera registers, because we define render output somewhere else too. And if we click this option, we exit camera come viewport or that same perspective mode. And if our objects list is many and we want to select the camera to change something on its details, we can very easily click on this option, so camera selected. Camera settings are very many. We don't want to address it. I tell you a few important and basic points of it. We do, and it suffices for us for rendering. First point, we have an option named Film Back. We know this in other software as aspect ratio too, meaning where we define how much render size is now. Well, because I want to take square render, essentially my sensor width and sensor height number must be same. And when I make these same, sensor aspect ratio becomes 1. So I'm doing my work correctly. Okay, now I change my camera place a little with that same navigation I know. And for example, keep it in this angle. Another camera change method exists too, that you exit camera mode and pin this preview on your screen. Now you scroll back a little like this, select camera itself, and now with all things you learned in transform section, you can come and set your camera. Both methods are correct. My preference is to go into viewport mode and control it like this. Okay, I come here in camera settings, and in current focal length section, this nowhere 11, which actually becomes field of view 90, I bring its number up. Bring it, for example, on 150. This number becomes our same lens number, 150. Or whatever our lens number goes higher, camera perspective becomes less, and the image we have is a more zoomed image. Whatever comes lower, for example, like 15, camera perspective becomes more, the image you are seeing, and as if we zoomed out. So this point is a very important point. I close this on 110 and come back a little too, and see that now the angle I have here is a good angle. Now I want it to be exact, and distances become equal beautifully here. I can do two works. I can start moving from right here and transform. For example, say, okay, this is correct now. Am I adjusting it in Z-axis? Is it correct now? Or I can exit camera and do my work manually. Next item is focus, or depth of field item. How can we set this? It is enough that you come here in Focus Settings section and uncheck this Manual Focus Distance option and check here. To be sure where that camera focus plane is, you can turn on this option too, so it displays for you in the image that where actually becomes purple, that plane camera focus is placed. Another method exists that can be very attractive. That is, you set focus method to tracking mode, and here say that the asset I want to be tracked is this same sphere I have here, that you can do this work with this picker very easily. Well, now this plane of ours is placed exactly middle and on this sphere, and we are sure that our focus is completely correct. Okay, this from General Camera Settings. In Lens Settings Section 2, you come in Men f-stop and set this number on 0.1, and then come down in Current Aperture option. If you bring this number lower, for example set on 0.1, amount of blur it creates in image becomes very much. If you bring its number up, for example make close to 8, blur amount becomes very less. So we can change that depth of field amount or blurring around our object with this option too. This is the totality of setting we need to know in Unreal Engine Camera. Let's go to next part. Next item I must add, its name is post-process. This post-process defines a lot of things for us. Actually, all events that happen in image and we see can change through post-process. We have a few very important settings. We do these together, you do exactly the same work too. I come here, first of all search Unbound, and turn on its checkbox. After I turned on its checkbox, in Lens section we can come change exposure. Do exactly the settings I tell you so you don't run into problem. Well, not necessary to touch its auto exposure option at all. You only turn on its exposure option. You keep it on this same one. You turn on Min EV and Max EV checkbox too, and put it on 0. Both must be placed on 0. After you did this work, close this exposure option. You come into Image Effects section and put Vignette on a number like for example 0.8, so edges of this frame of ours become a little darker. And we set Sharpen option on 1 too, so the image it is rendering be a sharper image. If you liked, you can put Chromatic Aberration option on number for example 0.2 too, so a little in edges of your work actually give distance to RGB color channels and have a more natural image. These are all things necessary you activate in post-process volume, and no need to touch anything special anymore. Okay, camera is there, post-process is there, our primary light is there too, which becomes that same HDR light of ours. Now let's go to material itself. In material for our background too, the work we do, let me exit camera mode, select camera, pin this. For background, the work I do is that I come and make an instance from a material I made before named General, and name it mi_backdrop, and attribute to this backdrop of mine. Well, now my back became white, but I don't want it to be white. I want it to have what color? I want it to have a little dark color. So I come select base color and select the dark color here. Be dark this much for now is okay for me. I don't touch anything else. You can make its roughness mirror-like, or you can totally take roughness from it. I'm okay on that same number 0.5 and no problem. Well, let's go to material itself we want to present. The material we want to present for this part is the grid metal panel material that we made together. For this purpose, the first work we must do is import our textures in Texture folder of Game Asset. Why? Because we want to use in Scene at the end. We don't have business with it in Presentation section. So I come import my textures. After click and drag textures and imported, as we see, recognize normal, and here the only work we must do, open ORM texture and turn off its sRGB checkbox and click Save option. Now we must go to material making process. The material making process we want to traverse here is very simple. Later, when we wanted to apply these to assets, we make material more complex. For now, we go in Material section, according to what we learned, make a new material, name it M_tile material. Open it. Here, we must give it 3 inputs, right? So we go here, select our 3 textures, and enter here. First image, which is completely clear, is base color, sits here. Because we might have opacity and for example want to mask somewhere, we select material, from blend mode section, remove its opaque mode and put on masked mode. When we do this, opacity mask turns on for us that we just need to attribute from alpha to it. And as you see, our material was made here. Now we don't see back of the work. To see back of the work too, we can turn on two-sided option, so back of work is seen too, and have no problem regarding this. Okay, for normal, because we might want to increase or decrease our normal intensity, I right-click and search Flatten Normal. This is the node I need, and I give RGB to normal and give its result to normal input. Well, for this flatness, pay attention. If your normal type is DirectX, which must be for Unreal Engine, we must definitely bring DirectX. We must do two works. First work is that remove normal itself and turn on green channel checkbox. Here it is enough to write FL or flip completely. This option comes for you. I save it, return and material, and here add a parameter and name it normal intensity. Set its default value to 0 so it doesn't have effect on my primary normal intensity probability. Okay, let's go to other parameters. A, which goes for ambient occlusion, we don't work with it. G goes for roughness, and B also goes for metallic. Almost can be said that our work is okay. Just to be able to set UV too, we come here, add a texture coordinate like this, add a multiply, I hold M, do a click actually, again hold S, set this on tile, default value must definitely be on 1, I give this to B, this to A, and now start connecting to UV section of each of these texture samples. Well, I select all three of these, right-click, convert to parameter. Well, first work I do, I start. Firstly, select all three and come here in group section, say that your group be texture input, and first priority be 1, second priority be 2, and third priority be 3. Again, I select all. In sampler source section, open this list and select shared wrap option. Well, this became settings of these parameters now, only I must correct their names too. Well, after we did this work, we must go to these two parameters of ours. I select these two parameters too and set their group on this same texture input. Set its priority on 1 so it comes placed up. Of course, we can set tile on 0 so it comes up here. We can bring normal a step lower so it placed here. So this way, we have in parameters section that first tile, then normal intensity, then two inputs, and then ORM. Okay, this became what we need. Well, I apply it. After applied the work, I do in my material folder window actually right-click, make a material instance, name it mi_grid pattern, and then attribute this material to this sphere of mine. Well, that's simple. Now we go to lighting process. In next video, we traverse lighting and render process together.